Hi everybody, welcome back to DayZ. So it's approximately 20 past 10 in the evening on the 3rd of June 2025, and DayZ Update 1.28 dropped onto the public servers today. This is the first time I've been able to sit down next to my PC. So what I thought I'd do is just record a live kind of video of me going through the update process for, this will be a PlayStation console Nitrado server. So the way that we do this will be exactly the same for an Xbox server as well. PC is a bit different, but at the end I'll probably go through some things with that. So the first thing I'd recommend everybody does is read through the blog post. I'll put links to this in the description below this video so you can know what's coming, and also read through the patch notes as well, because they often have interesting stuff, and read through the PC ones and the console ones, even if you're only on one or t'other. Okay, so the things we're really going to be looking at to see if the files have worked or not, we're going to be looking for the S12 or the R12 shotgun and the PM73 rack submachine gun. What I'm also going to be showing you is we're going to update the server to 1.28, but we're also going to be installing my slightly boosted 1.28 server files as well. So if this is something that you fancy doing, and what these files do, and this is just for Chernarus, they add a few quality of life changes, sort of things spawning pristine, there's more guns, there's guns spawning with mags spawning with bullets, vehicles spawning with wheels and stuff on them as well. I'll put a link to my GitHub repository as well, so you can read through that, and that has all of the instructions. So here we are, we're at my Nitrado dashboard. So this is my PlayStation server for Chernarus. So we're just going to click on the web interface and we're going to see what happens. Now, straight away we can see there's an error that's happening. We're aware of issues affecting ADM and RPT logs. Okay, following today's DayZ update. Alright, so there's something going on with that, but I don't look at logs very often. So the other thing that is a bit odd is that we're not getting the description here that tells us which version of DayZ we are running, which is a bit odd. So what we're going to do is we're going to restart the server and see if then that becomes available. Now, hopefully what you'll see in your server status, you'll have some game details in this box as well. And those game details will say, hopefully, something like DayZ 1.28.04433332 or something like that. What happens on update day, and today is update day, is that Nitrado, or your server provider, will change and will update the DayZ server.exe program, so the program that runs your server, to 1.28. So this is the background program that we on console don't have access to. But what it normally doesn't do is update the mission files. So the mission files are the files that have things like the new guns in and the new scopes in, all that sort of stuff. So here we go. A new update will be installed now. Okay, so that kind of indicates that something is happening. So we can kind of see that. It's always a good idea to do a new update. Obviously, before this, you would have gone on your Discord or gone on your Facebook group and said to everybody, I'm starting the update process, and things are going to be happening. Let me just refresh this, see if we've got any more information coming through. Nope. Nothing. Sometimes this does stay blank. So what we can do here as well is, because we're going to be doing some updates and stuff like that, it's a good idea to stop our server. Okay, that reduces the chance of us damaging any files and things like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to go to File Browser, and then we're going to go into the DayZ. In this case, because this is a PlayStation server, it's DayZ PS missions. If it was an Xbox server, it would say DayZ XB missions. If it's a PC server, it would just say DayZ missions, I think. So we click on this, and this has got the files in that we're interested in. So this server is a Chernarus server, so it says DayZ offline.chernarus plus. If it was a Livonia server, it would say DayZ offline.enoch. And if it was a Sakal server, it would say DayZ offline.sakal. So we click on this. And here we've got, if you're familiar with the things that we're doing servers, we've got the mission files. So these are things that customize the DayZ server.exe to have the files that we want in. Now, what we're interested in, a few things, is the dates here with last edits. And what's going to be in them. So we're going to go into the DB directory here. And we're going to scroll down. And what we can see here is the types.xml hasn't been updated since March the 11th. So that we know that this types.xml definitely doesn't have the new weapons in, doesn't have the new rack or the new PM. So although we could just run our server now and it would have DayZ 1.28, so it would work, but the mission files, the files that control what would spawn in, wouldn't have the new stuff, the new scopes, which is obviously a bit of a bummer. So what we're going to do next is we're going to make that happen. So we're going to go back to settings here, and we're going to go to general here. And we're going to scroll down. And as you can see, we've got mission Chernarus, host name, description, blah, 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 server time multiplier. As we scroll down, there's a couple of things we're going to be interested in. We're interested in reset mission XML to default and storage wipe. Now, the instructions that have come from Behemoth Interactive about this update is that they've done something to the way that garden plots work. And so they've recommended community servers have a storage wipe. So what that would do is that would wipe everybody's progress, everybody's character, all the building, all the loot would go. And then it would all be starting from fresh. However, Behemoth Interactive and the DayZ devs can be a little bit vague about this sort of stuff. So they didn't say whether this was a PC thing or a console thing that I'm aware of. So I kind of suspect this is going to be, they're asking for this because of PC specific workshop mods that interact with the way that garden plots work. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say, for console community servers, you don't need to do a storage wipe unless it's something that you want to do because you want to start afresh. All right, so if we wanted to wipe the storage, we could tap that, save the changes, restart the server, and it would wipe everything, untick that, save the changes, restart the server, and we'd be good. However, what we are going to do is this one here, reset mission XML to default. So what this does, and this is only available as far as I know on console servers. You can't do this on PC, which is a bit of a pain because it's nice and easy to do. What we do is we tick that there, okay, and then we would save the changes and we would start the server. In fact, we'd restart the server as well. And what that does, the server then goes, ooh, the mission files, so the types.xml, CFG spawnable types, all of that sort of stuff, all the territory files, all that sort of stuff. The server says, oh, I need the latest versions of these. And then it does something like go to a Behemoth Interactive and pulls the latest mission files, which will be 1.28. And it pulls them in, and then it puts them onto our server. So we then get the types.xml that's got the rack, that's got the new shotgun in, and it's got all the new scopes on and everything like that. However, what you must realise that when we do this, it's deleting all of the files that are on there. So if you have, for example, edited types.xml files, edited events, all sorts of custom stuff, when we do this, that's all going to go. So before you do this, you want to have backups and copies of everything. I would say as well, make sure you've got a copy of the CFGGAMEPLAY.JSON, make sure you've got a copy of all the files that are in your custom folder. Anything custom, make sure you've got it. Now, this isn't like the nuclear option when you do a reinstall, where it wipes everything and you start again, but you want to be careful. So, reset mission XML to default. So, we're going to save changes, and then we're going to start the server. There we go, so the server's going to start. We might have to do a restart. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember doing like this before. Normally I kind of wing this and do it without stopping the server, but don't tell anybody. Especially don't tell the people at Nitrado or Behemoth Interactive. They'll have words with me for doing things like that. Right, okay, so while this is doing that, let's nip on over to here. So I'll put a link to this in the description below this video. This is the Behemoth Interactive DayZ Central Economy GitHub. And so what you'll find in here are all the latest mission files. And you know they're the latest ones because if you look at the dates along here, we can see DayZ Offline.Chernarus Plus was updated 7 hours ago. So that means it's 1.28. And in fact, it says it here. And now if you want to go look at older ones, you can click on releases and go through to 1.27. If you're on PC and you want to update to the latest mission files in the way that on console we can just do it by hitting reset mission XML to default. What you do is you come here, you download the zip, you extract the local files, and you can just upload them to your computer, upload them to your remote server. You're probably going to do that with an FTP program. Anyway, but that's kind of that's the start of how you do it on PC. If you are doing it on PC, and this is one of the first times you've done it, if you do a quick Google search or a YouTube search for how to update my PC DayZ Community Server, I've probably done some videos about it, dozens of them probably, and other people have too. So don't worry, it's not that complicated, but you can go on it that way. Okay, so let's nip back to our server. So it's done its business. So what we're going to do now, sounds like a little doggy there, doesn't it? We're going to go back to the file browser. Here we go. And then let's just refresh this. Right, and what's exciting now is if you look at the type.xml, it's now been, the last edit was on June the 3rd, 2025. So that's very exciting because it means that it may well have been updated. Now, you can look at it on the web, but type.xml in particular is quite big. So I would always say download it. So we're going to download it to our computer. And then we're going to open it in Notepad++. And so what we want is we want to find the rack. So find all in current document. There we go. So there's the PM73 rack. There we go. So there's the entry. And I guess if we looked for PM73, there's the mag for it, the 15 round. There's the 25 round. And then if we look for the, is it the S12? No, it's the I think it's called the R12 in the files. There we go. There you've got the R12. So that's the new shotgun. And then we've got, if we look for scope, find all in, optic maybe. There's all these new scopes. The PS06, that's the new one, isn't it? There's the, I don't know what they're called, the new ones. I'll have to do a video about that one today. I think I already have. The Mark IV optic, that's the new one. That's one of the new ones, isn't there? And the sporting optic, that's a new one. That's like the 2x red dot for hunting rifles. So what we now know is that because we've checked it, we now know that our server has got the 1.28 files. In fact, if we go back to the dashboard, I wonder if it's going to have, no, it still doesn't say it there. So often what it would say is it would say 1.28 here, or sometimes it would say it up here as well. No, I can't see it. Oh well. Anyway, but we now know that our server is definitely running on 1.28 server.exe in the background, and we now know it's definitely got the 1.28 files on. So if people were to go onto the server and start wandering around, they would start finding the new stuff. So that's great. The final thing that you'd probably want to do if you were just running vanilla files is you'd probably want to go to the file browser. And you'd probably want to go into messages.xml. There we go. And you would probably want to copy that. So the restart that does it every 600 seconds. And you would want to paste it outside of the remarks there. And what that would do, that then gives your server a restart every 600 seconds, which is that 10 hours, is it? Or was it 600 minutes? 600 minutes. 600 minutes divided by 60. Yeah, of course, it's 10 hours. So that gives you a 10-hour restart. Without that, your server would get a little bit unstable. Okay, so could save that. So there we go. So that, my friends, that's it as far as a vanilla DayZ server goes. How easy is that? Nice and easy to do. Brilliant. You go off and play DayZ 1.28. So now what we're going to do, now we're going to talk about how to install my boosted loot files, which again, there's a link in the description below this video. Now these ones are done slightly differently. My previous boosted loot files were all about replacing the vanilla files. But these ones aren't about replacing the vanilla files. These are all about having additional files that are addendums to them. So the way that these file works is we're going to edit the CFG economy core file, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. And we're going to tell the server to say, look, once you've had a look at the vanilla types file, have a look at my little extra types file and do the changes that you see there. So the beauty of doing it this way is it's a much cleaner way of making additions because we're not messing around with the vanilla files and potentially making mistakes. and making things that are hard to change afterwards, we've always got a separate file to work on. In fact, you can have lots of different files. So you could have, when you're working on PC and you're working with mods that are bringing in more items, you can keep them separate. So when you install or uninstall mods, it's very easy to get rid of those types files. There we go. So that's the theory behind it. When you do download and just go code download zip, and you download all these files, the README explains everything on how to do it as well. So we're going to go back to our server, and we're just going to stop it. Always best practice. There we go. And then we're going to go to DayZ PS missions, or it would be DayZ XB missions or something like that. So this is Chernarus Plus, so we're going to go back into there. And we're going to go into the custom folder. Now on console, you must put any files that are different in terms of their file name to the vanilla files into the custom directory. Otherwise, the server completely ignores them and just won't look at them at all. Now, that's not the case for PC, but it is for console. Any file that it hasn't got the same name as a vanilla file must go in here. So in here, you'd always find your custom, your build files that you've made, your JSONs for making custom builds. In here, you would put your JSONs for things like custom spawn loadouts. They would go in here. And just as in this case, our custom loot economy files must go in here. Oh, another thing actually would be custom territories as well. Say custom custom territories is the big one, where you were doing a new animal territory file. That must go on here on console, otherwise the server completely ignores it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to upload file, and then we're going to go to my DayZ Moddy section, 1281C, and we're going to upload all of these files. So this is how you would have already downloaded these and have extracted them on your PC. We're just going to do that. There we go. So the extra CFG spawnable types, that basically does things like makes the vehicles have wheels on them. It makes the guns have magazines in them. The extra events is for vehicles, I think. Excuse me, I've been talking for too long. Messages does the restart. So leave your messages.xml as vanilla, and this one will do the restart. And the extra types, that adds the extra bits in and make sure things like magazines are full of bullets. Actually, globals does things like changes the login timer and makes sure that lots of things are pristine when they log in, when they spawn in. And CFG spawnable types does that as well. So they're all there. What we need to do now is just go up to the mission file again. And we need to open up CFG Economy Core. This one here, very powerful file this that we haven't really used properly in the past. And all we do now is scroll down to the bottom, and after defaults we just put a couple of spaces in. And then if we go to the README file that was with my downloads that you download from the GitHub, you can see that we've got this. So next up, you open up your vanilla CFG Economy Core.xml, and near the bottom, above the closing Economy Core, paste this. So we copy all that, and you see that's all the names of the files. Is that right, actually? Oh yeah, above the closing Economy Core. Yep, I got that right. So we're just going to Control V, and we're just going to have a look at it. We're not going to. We should really validate this with an online validator. But we can just make sure that everything looks all right. We haven't gone over the top of anything, so that sounds good and looks good. So we're going to save the changes. There we go. So they're now saved, and then we're going to start the server. Are you sure you want to run this command? Yes. And that, my friends, is it. It's pretty easy, isn't it? And the beauty is, going forward, it's going to be much easier for me to create these updated files and keep them updated than it used to be before. It used to be a real slog. It used to take me sort of a couple of hours at a time if I was doing it manually, or I'd use something like the DayZBoosters.com. Big shout out to them. Use their tools as well to do it. So there we go. So in this video, we've covered how to update your DayZ Community PlayStation or Xbox server to 1.28, so you get the 1.28 mission files. And we've also looked at how you can install my kind of slightly boosted loot files as well to a Chernarus server. Hopefully you found this useful. I think my voice is about to go. I need to go and get a drink. If you found the video useful, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. And of course, I'll see you again soon.